come and talk to you. And rather than go into a lot about my campaign, I want to talk to you about the model that I think that is important for government as your Congresswoman. First of all, I want us to understand in the 3rd District that we need to go back to representative government. Something has gone awry within America where we treat politicians and people that are elected to office as if they're gods, and as if they're the ones who are taking their philosophy, their ideology to Washington. But what is important under representative government is that you have to know what the people are thinking. And so my campaign, the model that I'm using, is that I'm getting out there among the grassroots people. I'm getting out there among people like you, regardless of what your party affiliation is. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what issues you think are important to you, what you think is going on in government, how you think it should be changed, and what direction this nation should be going. Because I truly believe that neither the Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, or whomever have all of the answers. And I still believe in America where people are able to deposit into government and deposit into the process. And by what I mean by depositing into the process is that people who have expertise in certain areas have that kind of information that's important to me if I'm getting ready to be involved in a piece of legislation, say for instance if it's small business. If it's small business, then I need to go to the small businesses and say, what are some of the issues that you're seeing now that are impacting you in terms of federal funds, federal loans, regulations, or whatever? Because those are the people that will be able to give me that kind of information. And so if I'm looking at the issue of education, I need to go to the educators. I need to go through K through 12. I need to go to higher education and ask them, what are the things that are impacting you? And that's one of the things that I have not seen a congressperson do. And I employ you to make sure that we are responsible when we go to Washington. It's not a matter of going to Washington and voting on a piece of legislation and then coming back and tell you we voted on it and this is what we decided and then we're defending it. But my model is simply this, that I'm going to listen to the people. I want to know what your ideas are. If you go on my website, you'll see that there's different committees that I'm going to have that's basically going to cover just about every area that we will be legislating within Congress. And I want to know your input. And from the time that a piece of legislation is entered into the hopper, I want to make sure you know that this is a bill that's going to impact the 3rd District. And I'm not going to research, I'm a research consultant. I'm not going to research the bill as a Republican. I'm going to research the bill pro, con, and in between. Because I believe that information is important. And when you have all of the information, you're intelligent enough to make a decision. And to get back with me and say, Dr. Hill or a Congresswoman, Lady J, this is how we think you ought to deal with this particular piece of legislation. And this is how we want you to vote. And that's what is important. You educate your constituents. And I know that this is something that normally elected officials don't want to do. And it's because of special interest groups. Because if I don't educate you, then when the special interest groups come, the lobbyists, and they're trying to put money into my hands, then I'm going to vote based upon whichever way the money flows. That is not the way I'm going to do it. And we need to understand that lobbyists do not run government. The people do. And we have gotten so government has gotten so involved in the lives of people simply because we have not said enough is enough. And you say enough is enough at the polls. You say enough is enough when your congressperson is elected. Stay in touch with me. Make sure that I'm doing what I said I'm going to do. Make sure I'm accountable. And make sure that just like I'm coming here to talk to you now, make sure that after I get elected, that I come back. And if I don't come back, then you have a right to say, well, hold up. Next time you get elected, you don't come and speak to us for our support. And so the issue with government, I don't see it as an issue with government. It's an issue with people. The people have not told Congress we are in charge. we are the ones that are in charge, and we're basically sending you to make sure that you get government out of places that they don't need to be. And right now, if you look at government today, there is so much involvement and interference within everyday lives until we're losing some of the basic freedoms. We're losing them. And not only are we losing some of the basic freedoms, but we're the ones that are being dictated to. Your congressperson is not a dictator. And if that person has your interest, then that person will go to Congress and actually do that. Accountability. Making sure that Congress is accountable to you and not to large corporations, because that's what's happening. Corporations and lobbyists are running Washington, D.C. I'm on the Hill a lot, and if you go there, you will see nothing but lobbyists. I mean, from every kind of logic that you could possibly think of. And these people are the ones that are putting money into campaigns. And so, therefore, if you put money into someone's campaign, then you're going to have an interest in that person. And that person certainly is going to take into consideration what you want. Those are the kind of things that we're going to have to stop. And when we can get to a point where raising money and the large amount of money that you raise is more important than actually who you are and what you plan to do in Washington, that is a problem. And yes, it takes money to run a campaign, but the money that's run ought to be given from individuals. If a person has 50 cents, $1, $10, whatever, that shows support on the grassroots. But when you're going to Washington, D.C., to check in with people in Washington, D.C., to see if they will raise the money for your campaign, then where will your interest be? It will be in Washington, D.C. And so this coming January, in fact, we're feverishly working on the issues right now. And you'll be able to see the kinds of issues that I think are important to the 3rd District. But like I said, my presentation of the issues is going to be a little bit different from the other candidates, because I'm going to give you some information on both sides of the thing and in between. And with some kind of commentary after that, saying that if we go this way, these are the consequences. If we go this way, these are the consequences. If we go in the middle, these are the consequences. Because I believe that there is a great deal of intelligence and sincerity within the 3rd District. And I believe that people in the 3rd District are not stupid. And they understand. And that they need to have information so that they can make intelligent choices. And that's important to me. It's important to me. And also I'm a people's person. I'm going to be available to my constituents, and I'm going to spend a lot of time in my district with different committees, finding out what it is, where are we going with this, what is going on in the 3rd District, how do we need to fix this? Because as a congressperson, you don't have all of the knowledge. You need to, again, you need to go back with people that have that expertise and have people sit down at the table with you and give input. And taking that input and then going to Congress and representing the people of the 3rd District. So I appreciate this opportunity, and I want you to know this, that my ears are open. I'm listening. And I find that on the campaign trail, you probably need to do more listening than talking. Because people are fed up. Everywhere I have gone, people are fed up. And they're tired. They're just tired. They feel like government is abusive. It doesn't care anything about them. It's not listening to them. And so if you find candidates that are on the campaign trail and they're using spin words and all this kind of crazy jargon, that's not real. People want to say to you, look, what are you going to do about this? How are you going to fix this? How are you going to do this? If you go, what's going to happen? And to me, I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying the fact that people are saying, this is what's bothering me. And sometimes I like some of my elderly men because they'll say, girl, can you fix that? And my position is, I don't know if I can fix it, but I tell you one thing, I will go to Washington and we will try. And together we can do this. And so if you have Congress people that are spinning words like they're going to Congress to get rid of this person, to get rid of that person, you cannot get rid of anybody in their district. That's up to the voters. But what you can do is mind your own business in your district. And another thing that I want you to know is that what happens in my district, the 3rd District, is unique. And so I will not go to Washington to vote with a gang. I'm not a gangbanger. And so therefore, I'm going to look at the specific interests of the 3rd District. And if the 3rd District's interests are different from all the rest of the districts, I'm going to vote different. And I think what we have done is that we have voted as a block, but it's not a savory block. It's not a good block. It's not a wholesome block. We just go in, and just because somebody's voted every time with the party, that's stupid. It is completely stupid, and it suggests to me that you have not given a second or first thought to what your district needs, because the problems in Arizona with immigration are totally different than the problems in Tennessee with immigration. And you have to look at those different issues, and we have to come up with solutions and legislation that is pertinent to the 3rd District. And that's what representative government is about. That's why our forefathers did what they did, having a House of Representatives. House of Representatives. That means that the interests of the 3rd District will be taken into consideration because it has someone there from the 3rd District that is bringing those interests. And so again, I thank you so very much for having me here today, and I appreciate so much, and if you have some questions, I'll be happy to answer.
We will have questions after Andrew speaks.
Basically, is something that's in the hands of the people. And this is something that I really wish the people would understand, that if you don't like somebody, you can limit their terms by not voting them in the next time. And so to ask Congress to do term limitations is a bit much when that power has already been given to the people constitutionally. You have the right to vote. You have the right to, if you're sick and tired of somebody, you start a campaign to get them out. And that's the power of the people. I'm not against term limitations, but I think that, again, I'd like to see people take control over government themselves, because I'm finding constituents are lazy. The American people have gotten lazy, and we blame everything on government when there are some things we need to do. When you're looking at a primary election where 17 to maybe 33% of people that are registered voters are actually voting, and then you've got a whole population out there that haven't even registered votes, that to me speaks a whole lot for the American people. And so the American people also have to understand their responsibilities as citizens, and if you don't use those responsibilities, then you get what you deserve. And the other one was Rick Perry. I can't not agree with Rick Perry in terms of cutting government down to 50%, because it's just too much. If you're actually doing your job in Congress, there is a lot. When you put a bill in that hopper, that bill works its way through committee. And there's a lot of things that have to happen to that bill before it actually becomes law. And part of that is you getting back to your district, talking to people about those bills, getting information, getting input. And also, Congress is not just about making laws, it's oversight. For example, in my district, I'm going to oversee every federal dollar that comes into this district. And I'm going to ask anyone that, make sure that everyone who is receiving federal dollars, I want to see your outcome. At the end of every 12 months, I want to see the outcome. If you're getting money for this, then what have you done? And so, if you're really doing your job, you do need to be full-time. And so my position on that is simply that I don't see how Congress can be run any less than 100% if you're giving your all. And if you're doing that, and if you're making sure that you're equally dividing some of that time between your district and Washington, D.C. I do think that there's too much time spent in Washington, D.C. I think that there should be more time spent in your district finding out what the heck is going on with your people.